All right, let's do it live on a Thursday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau at the CCMC. Is the great C.
Well, that's good. The CCMC. I am here, indeed. So is
Yeah, look at you.
I know.
Get it.
Having the time of my
Gibby's
life.
there as well.
Here
Chesty,
we are.
Chesty,
A very strange Thursday. No football this Thursday. Just kind
Isn't
of.
it weird?
It is weird, and this week is weird because of obviously the disappointing nature of this season and where we are, and that you're playing, a game that is in some ways without meaning to the big picture of the 2021 season, but has meaning certainly the guys that are going to play and guys trying to make an impression. I know Case Keenum is particularly excited about this opportunity to go out there and start again. He's 1-0 as a starter this year. You get 2-0 as a starter, and you never know what that means for Case's future. So I think that there's still a lot going on here, but it is not what we had hoped was going on. Let's be perfectly honest about that.
I mean, that's a pretty good Don Draper sales pitch out of you. I think if I'm Roger Sterling, I think about putting your name on a door. I don't know necessarily that we're going to make you a partner. No, it's a weird feeling. It's a really weird spot. It's a weird week. It feels like the season, in many ways to me, I'm curious what you think about this. In many ways to me, it feels like the season is over.
Yes.
Truly. I mean, I feel like it's over. The way that it's being talked about, the stuff that's out there about our team, it feels like the season is over. It's hard for me to wrap my head around Sunday at 1 o'clock, you're going to play the Bengals. It's like as I've gone through the week, it's almost like I've forgotten that there is another game. Now, that it could be the disappointment and all of that, but also the reality that we're playing an 18th week. I mean, we have the record that you normally have had for dozens of decades, a 16-game schedule, and now all of a sudden you've got, you'd be 7-9. Okay, well, that sucks, but that's what you are. And now all of a sudden you have this 17th game, and I think that maybe adds to it too. It's almost like I have to keep reminding myself, if it wasn't for Deke, if it wasn't for Deke, I don't know. It's a weird feeling. It really is. I can't imagine how weird it is for the players.
It's got to be weird
in a 17-game season.
And what's crazy about it is also, I think because we were the Monday night game, you had that abrupt end by 4:20 on Sunday of last week when the Chiefs, blew it, boy, to the Bengals. And the Bengals earned it and went out and beat the Chiefs at home to win the division. And you're saying to yourself, man, it's over. And so then a game that you thought less than 24 hours later, or more than 24 hours later, I should say, about 28 hours later, a game that you thought was going to be full of consequence and meaning and emotion, both teams needing a win to stay alive for the playoffs for one more week, meant nothing to the Browns from a season perspective, meant, everything to the Steelers from a Ben Roethlisberger celebration and to stay alive. It's a very small path, but there are things that could happen that would allow the Steelers season to continue. And here we are on Thursday. It feels like that Steelers game to me anyway, and maybe that's just because it's been a whirlwind for me, but it feels like that game happened 5 years ago.
Same.
I
feel like we're like in the middle of January.
Right.
Like that's what it feels like. Okay, the season's over.
The playoffs should be happening this weekend. Season's over. Let's get on to who's going to be crowned the champion. And a wide open playoffs. I think it's going to be a fun playoffs this year.
Do you think that as disappointed as we are, I think the NFL is equally as disappointed because there's not a whole lot. I was in another occupation that I have, well, I guess same occupation, but just another time slot that I have. I was doing some scores this morning, and I was looking at them, and I basically picked everything based on who I think has motivation, who's still playing for something, right? Because, by the way, if you're someone who does bet on the National Football League and you do it in week 18, God bless you. God bless you. Because you have no idea how long a guy plays. I mean, that's the reason fantasy football stops last weekend, because it's the last kind of one of any sort of trying to wrap your head around it.
It's wild, too, for this to be a week 18 that, like 2 weeks ago, everything was up in the air, and now basically nothing is.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this slate, and I'm going, okay, so Chargers, Vegas, win and you're in. That's a big one. That's a big game. Everything else is just kind of seeding. There's some incredibly lopsided situations. For example, Indy going to Jacksonville where they haven't won in a while. but they're 15.5-point favorites in the game. I mean, Jacksonville gave up, half 100 last week to New England. Buffalo's a 16-point favorite over the Jets. They're playing for seeding. There's still some seeding that's being played for.
Right,
but really, in the NFC, the Packers are the one, so everybody else is playing next week. It's just a matter of, where. But that's it. That's all that's up for grabs. And in the AFC, it's really just – it kind of feels – it's just the one spot. It's just the Chargers and the Raiders. And you hit on it, and that's where I was going. A couple of weeks ago, it felt like there'd be a lot on the line in Week 18. But it all sorted itself out in Week 17.
In large part to the Chiefs game.
Yeah. I mean, that was it. And you think about the nice little ribbon that a 17-week season, a 16-game season provided. It did its job. We didn't need this. We didn't need Week 18 in the 17th game. And we know we're going to 18 games. I mean, I think that's known that we're going to 18 games, probably sooner rather than later. But it's a weird week in general, not just for us, I guess is the point. It's a weird one for us, but we're not alone. Because you go through this, you look at this slate. I mean, think about some of these games. What's Green Bay playing for? They're at Detroit. Chicago's playing Minnesota. Who's motivated in that one? It was going to be Justin Fields. Now it won't be, so it'll probably be Foles.
Right.
Washington, the Giants. Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Tennessee, Houston. The Jets and Buffalo I mentioned. There's a lot on the line for San Francisco. There's a lot on the line for the Saints, obviously.
Yep.
Seattle and Arizona. That's just seeding for Arizona. Carolina and the Bucks. Dallas and Philly. A lot of it, it's just, you move up a spot here or there.
Maybe. Right.
It's kind of a one game weekend. Really. It's really just Chargers and Raiders.
Which would be awesome if the Colts somehow lose. So they haven't won down there, I wanted to say I saw since 2013. Is that right?
Doesn't that seem impossible?
It seems impossible. I think that's what I read. It's something like that. It's something outrageous. I'm here for the tie, though. I'm here for all the kneels, and then to see if somebody does a classic wrestling double cross at the end and tries to eliminate their foe, like Royal Rumble where you're teaming up together.
I don't think I would be for it. I don't see any scenario where like those two teams would be able to do like the straight kneel down. Like they would have to at least fake trying, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they have to like just run it?
And then your kicker
kind of
just
run right,
accidentally shanks every kick.
run left, just hey, we're running over here. Fall down after 7 yards so we can punt. I mean,
if you're about
you
to
almost
score,
accidentally
you Deshaun Jackson it, right, and just drop it back at the one.
Yeah, it'd be a heck of a thing. I would look forward to Al Michaels calling that. I think that would be comedy because he would have the gifts to be able to call something like that.
He would be talking about underbettors being thrilled with this turn of events.
He certainly would. But for that, I guess it's fairly. I think you can say with a 15.5-point number on the Indy game that pretty confident that that's not going to be the case.
Very confident, but look, anything can happen. I mean, we've had some big dogs cover this year. Didn't the Texans as a huge dog cover against somebody? I want to say maybe the Chargers recently. They beat them like handily.
We had 5 straight weeks. I have these all in front of me. I have them here somewhere on the desk. There was a 5-week stretch where double-digit dogs not only covered but won, and in several of those instances won by double digits. It was a difference of being 20 points off, or better in several instances in the last month where that had happened, where a 10-point dog lost by more than 10, or a 10-point favorite lost by more than 10. So that happened several times. Houston did that to L.A. a couple of weeks ago. In Week 16, they did that to L.A. There was another one. Oh, Tampa Bay. Didn't Tampa Bay do that with New Orleans? Weren't they a big favorite over New Orleans and then lost?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were several of those. Miami and the Jets maybe did one of those a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. There's been a lot of them here in the last. No, not Miami and the Jets. That one didn't. But there's been a lot of them here in the last month where that has happened. So, yeah, I think you'll see when we do the scores tomorrow and you look at it and you try to assess, all right, who's playing for what? And I think when you think of our team, I think you hit it. I think you think about the opportunity for Case Keenum to get his second start, and you think about the opportunity of playing in front of the fans. And anybody who plays for us knows how important those fans are and what they mean to the organization. This is the 75th year of this franchise.
Yeah.
You want to go out with a win. It's important to do that, I think. And I think you'll get a pretty good effort out of our team. I think it'll be helped from a results standpoint by who the heck knows who's going to play for Cincinnati.
Right. I mean,
probably not much.
No. Why would you? If Joe Burrow's out, I think that changes the way that you approach the game, period. But for the Browns, you know that in the National Football League every year there is massive turnover on a roster. And so this is the last time that this group of guys that put in a lot of work, that put in a lot of time, a lot of effort to be here together to do something special. And while they didn't achieve that goal, this is their last opportunity together to make a statement. And there are a lot of guys who know that, maybe their future's here, maybe it's somewhere else, that wants to put out good tape and make a name for themselves. And you got young guys like, whether it be an Anthony Schwartz on offense or a James Hudson who probably wants to bounce back after, dealing with T.J. Watt and grow from that experience. And you got maybe Tommy Togiai getting some reps, or Jacob Phillips back from his injury and seeing his playing time increase. Those young guys, or pending free agents, even like an M.J. Stewart who's going to join the show, that I would love to have back in Cleveland. I'm sure he wants to come back as well. He's thrived here. For those guys like that, this is a big game. This is a big opportunity, a big showcase to say, I can be here, I can be a big part of the plans, and I want to.
Yeah, it is. And it's, obviously we've had some of these through the years. Certainly did not anticipate having one this year. But the opportunity to do it and to give the fans one last good taste in their mouth as they go through the offseason. It's impossible for me to wrap my head around the idea. You mentioned all of the work that's put in. In many instances, the start of training camp seems like forever ago, and then at the same time, a blink. It feels like a blink. We say this all the time. I say this to my wife. Like, once football season starts, I'll see you in January. We're in January. Like you just get on a treadmill, and the weeks stack, and all of a sudden it's done, and that's where you're at. And so that's kind of the way. It's a very interesting year, and I think adding the 18th week only adds to it, kind of the awkwardness of the end of this season. A couple of roster notes to pass along. Signed to the practice squad, Benny LeMay and Alex Taylor placed on the practice squad COVID-19 list. Chris, you blew it, boy. He goes on that front. We said this yesterday, and we had a lot of great fun talking about Deke, and it's been so cool to see all of the stuff that's been going on, in celebration of Doug Deacon. And Deke Week continues on the Brown social media platforms.
I like that.
Yeah, you like Deke Week? I like that.
Yeah.
Be sure to check out a special edition of the BPA. Are you on it, Gibby? Are you and Gribbs on it?
I simply intro and toss, and then I take it at the end and wrap it up. I don't.
So is it just Jim and Doug?
And to be honest with you, I didn't even want to do that, but because of we're trying to, the powers that be are working on trying to get it sponsored along with our show. They needed us to be a part of it, and I was like, this is not me. I'm out.
Yeah, because Jim doesn't have any experience coming in and out of break.
No.
He's never done. He doesn't know how to. Well, that's good.
Right.
You almost got through it without laughing.
He needed him.
You had to have you and Gribbs to make sure that Jim kept it in between the navigational
right.
beacons.
That's right.
Stuff. But this is awesome, and I've seen some of the clips of it, and we had Gribbs on yesterday with it. But this is really great. It's really the two of them talking for an extended period of time, and I encourage you to seek it out. It's the coolest damn image. There's been so many cool images of Deke and everything great about him, but the coolest one I saw, I can't even remember who. It might have been Telich who tweeted it out. It was a picture of Deke playing tennis with John McEnroe.
It's awesome.
Yes.
In like low-cut Converse with McEnroe. He just looks like the king of the world. I mean, it's the coolest damn photo. I loved it.
He sure
Absolutely
does.
loved it.
Deke and the Hulksters making the rounds.
I saw the Hulkster one yesterday,
which is incredible.
Was there a time, Gibby, that for you that it was almost like he was like the one-man welcome committee for Cleveland? Like if anybody famous came to town, then they go hang out with Deke? It's kind of what it feels like when I'm looking at all these photos. Like everybody who's famous came to town, they found Doug Deacon.
Yes. Inevitably, I think he was the Cleveland socialite before there was socialites, Instagram models, and things like that.
What a
this
great
is all
description.
I want.
That's it right there.
That's perfect. This is what I want. I want, and it has to be done on a streaming service. It can't be on basic cable. I want a HBO/Netflix Hulu, Amazon Prime series of
A biopic. Yeah.
Yeah, but one that takes some liberties.
Sure.
That's what I mean. One that can take some certain liberties.
Yeah, we're not afraid of a few
and
exaggerations.
Not that you need a lot, but
no.
Perhaps a revision, like a little bit of revision if needed from time to time. Probably wouldn't need much embellishment. Following Deke around Cleveland right after he retired, like right at the end of his career as he transitions into broadcast. That's what I want done.
I mean, the man has thrived.
That's what I'm saying.
There are some moments. There are things that I've been told. And
could we bring Josh Hartnett out of retirement? I feel like he has a little bit of like a young Deke look to him, and maybe and cast him in the role of young Deke.
Be big.
Hartnett could be. He was big. He was big in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, I'm trying. You got to have a great mustache. You got to be able to grow a great mustache.
I don't know. 40
you got to
days,
be able
40
to have
nights.
that.
It's great.
Yeah, you need to have a strong mustache game to pull it off.
Exploits.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think it's all there. Like, let's have the true memoir of Deke.
Who's the Tom Selleck of today? There just isn't.
Well, that's what you're trying to find.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy who can grow a good mustache, but I don't know if he's got the build to be. He's got the height to be a young Deke. Timothy Oliphant would have the ability to grow a great mustache, but I don't know. He's got that kind of funny and Justified.
Wiry.
He's
too wiry.
He's a little too wiry. You have to put on a little bit of put on some lbs.
Yeah.
But he can grow a great mustache. That's really what's required.
I bet the Hoff could grow a great stash. The Hoff's got the physique to be the Deke
and the charisma. The Hoff might be a little too. The Hoff is too. I think he's a little. What's the best way to put it? He's just so disciplined. I don't. Deke is footloose and fancy free.
Yeah, but this is acting. Brilliant.
Like 10 years ago, Vince Vaughn would have been a great Deke.
Oh, yeah.
15 years ago, he'd have been a great Deke, patrolling around Cleveland, making things happen.
Sure.
Shaking and jiving.
There's no doubt. I've never seen him with a stash, though, but I could bet it would be great.
Did he have one in Starsky and Hutch? He was in that. If ever there was a movie for it to be, that would probably be the one. I don't know that I've seen him in a stash either, but that 15 years ago, Vince Vaughn would have been a great Deke.
Yes.
He's tall. All right. Yeah. We'll see if he's a tall drinker of water. We'll see if we can get this cast. Maybe at the end of the show, someone will give us an idea for our series. Of Deke running around Cleveland in the 80s. That's what I want.
He did have a mustache in Starsky and Hutch.
In Starsky and Hutch? There you go.
Kind of came down. It was more of like like here, came down quite a bit. But yes.
See, there we go. That's what it would have been. So we got perfect.
Actually, that's
we just need a young. We need that guy. But that's 15 years ago. So you need that guy now. Who's that guy now who can play Deke in the 80s in the biopic?
I'm dying. It's so good.
That's the one. That's the guy you need because there's a lot of similarities there between the two. Both very, very quick-witted. So check out Deke Week as it continues here.
It's bigger than Shark Week.
Is always a winning strategy. It is. We should do it every year at this time. If you plan to make a movie this season, we're going to have you covered at Howard Hanna. Every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. We go around the league coming up. MJ Stewart may be joining the program at any point, so we'll be ready for that. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans can win big with the digital scratch-off game brought to you by Ohio Laundry on ClevelandBrowns.com and the Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the season by digitally scratching off a virtual card. Chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards, tickets to future games. For more information, log on to promotions.clevelandbrowns.com. Did you see Aaron Rodgers fire back at the writer who said he wouldn't vote for him over the vaccination stuff?
I did.
Aggressive.
It was aggressive, but I don't know that belongs in an MVP vote.
Well, this goes back 100 years. I mean, this goes back to the Baseball Hall of Fame stuff, going all the way back to Joe Jackson. It goes to the steroid guys in the 90s. It goes to a matter of, you think about guys in the NFL Hall of Fame. What is your job when you're voting for something like this? And I think what happened to this guy is, this happened on a radio show, I believe, right? Wasn't he on a radio show? I don't hear you, Gibby. Your light's not on.
That's a demerit.
That's a market, dude. He takes the lead. Just like the over-unders, he's taking the lead.
I'm going to triple crown this bad
They
boy
call him the
before we're all said and
tiebreaker.
done.
That's what they call him.
Hub Arkish is his name.
Yes.
He's a longtime broadcaster, and he's covered the NFL for years.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess they have him doing a podcast, and one of the radio conglomerates has a podcast, and he said some things, and clearly A-Rod not a fan.
Well, I think let's
remember
one of those
too,
things. I think
Hub's in Chicago, Bears land.
Yes.
Remember,
Bears
Aaron
land.
owns the Bears.
Yeah, he does. And I think the big thing was I think at one point he said something to the fact that he's the biggest jerk in the league. Everybody knows it. Something like that, which I thought was that's probably a bridge too far. Rodgers' response was, lit the world on fire with him. I mean, clearly, and then the guy apologized. The Hub Arkish guy apologized for what he said, which, once Rodgers, he almost just doubled down at that point. And why say it in the beginning if you are going to apologize for it? It's such a strange story.
It is odd. I like coming back. You're a bum. It's just a good.
Yeah.
That's always a good comeback.
Bum and bozo aren't used enough. I think both are great.
Oh yeah, the kid loves to throw. And the kid has like a hierarchy of bozos. If you reach Class A bozo, he's digging deep right there. That is
Class A.
Yeah, if you're a Class A bozo, that's the king of the bozo, in a bad way.
I'm quick to drop a bozo on the kids. Like, I'll give the boys bozos a lot. What a bunch of bozos. Like, I'll drop that upside their heads from time to time.
Yeah, my dad's was the word dumb followed by a word that we can't say on our air, and that's what he would say to me all the time.
At what age? At what age does that start?
And he said it with a that was the cadence of it. Dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I mean, it's as far back as I can remember. That's what I remember. And it was not.
That's not correct.
The second word did not start with an A. It started with an S.
No. Yeah. It could start with any number of words, and it would all kind of get back to the same type of place. A couple of other things around the league. The NFL is going to eliminate the Wonderlic. I think the other thing, what I thought was most interesting about this was they're changing some of the receiver drills that they run. And I think anything that corrects the DK Metcalf mistake is a positive.
Sure.
Like that would be a positive. Let's make sure that doesn't happen again. Let's not worry about 3 cone drills with 6'4", 215-pound receivers who run 4.29. Titans officially designated Derrick Henry to return from practice from the injured reserve. Boy, that's a heck of a thing if he can be what he was before, except completely healthy and rested.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they're the favorites because they've had him healthy and dominating the league before and have not necessarily gotten all the way. But they're going to be dangerous. I mean, he is clearly a very big part of what they do, and I think – if anything, it's about seeing what he looks like for 2021 playoffs, and then I think fantasy owners are going to be taking a gander and saying, okay, what does he look like for the 2022 fantasy season? Is Derrick Henry – is it Derrick Henry again? Is he back? He should be as fresh as he's ever been this point in the year.
Well, from the fantasy perspective, I think the logical thing would be that he's probably wrapping it up. The prime is over because we don't have guys who have – this is his first major injury.
Yes.
Usually, you don't have usually these things start to stack. You think of DeMarco Murray. There's 100 examples of this. Is that once you get in that late 20s, those injuries start to stack on you a little bit. So I would think that would be from a fantasy perspective. From an NFL perspective, if he's healthy, man, dealing with him is a full day. So can they win? They can be the 1 seed with a win, right? They have the tiebreaker over Kansas City, so they're the 1 seed with a win. Simple
That's
as
right.
that. They beat Houston, they're the 1.
So likely, they will be.
They're the 1. Yeah, they're significant favorites in that game. But that game's on Sunday, and the Chiefs game is on Saturday on that front. Coming up next, we will go behind enemy lines. Our good friend, Bengals senior staff writer Jeff Hobson, to preview Cincinnati and the team that we'll see here on Sunday, and how all of this happened this season down in Cincinnati, how it all came together. We will get into that coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. EOX Vantage has a local presence and a global footprint. It's trusted by some of the world's biggest brands. Here's a testimonial from EOX Vantage client Ed Scheel. He's the Vice President of Skyward Specialty Insurance. The tools we've designed with EOX Vantage are real business changers that open the door to us for all sorts of valuable opportunities and efficiencies. They help our team members stay on the same page while collaborating remotely, make it easy to communicate with customers, cut way down on manual data entry and the associated input errors, cut hours off processes and response times operationally. It is a brand new ball game for us, and it can be for you too. I encourage you to learn more about EOX Vantage by visiting www.eoxvantage.com or call 216-298-1616 for more. And with that, we head behind enemy lines with our good buddy Jeff Hobson. Covers the Bengals, of course, the senior writer down in Cincinnati. Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time. Let's just start before we get into the season and everything that's happened in an incredible last couple of weeks for the franchise. With who's playing here on Sunday, where do we stand from your side of things?
I think I'm going to be out there with Dave Lapham and Dan Horde. I think
the three of you.
With the fact they're going to rest some people, the COVID list, it's going to be a pretty skeleton crew out there, I think.
Jeff, this is obviously a monster season for the Bengals to win the AFC North, to get Joe Burrow and have, the performance that he did to do what they, Burrow, Chase, Higgins, Mixon, all under the age of 25. Does this feel like a kind of a renaissance or the start of perhaps a golden era for the Bengals?
Yeah, everybody knows the stat about, the 4,000-yard passer and the 1,000-yard rusher and the two 1,000-yard receivers. No team's ever done that with under the age of 26. So you can't help but hope that. Obviously we'll see how it plays out, but all these guys are so young, and what was so important about and that victory on Sunday against Kansas City was huge, just because they don't have to go to your place and try to win a game to get in the playoffs, which would have been miserable. That would have been a tough slog. But the fact that they did it against the Chiefs, which is, the two-time AFC North champions, and, I think that that's, that the Chiefs have a pretty high standard. The fact they were able to go toe-to-toe with them, I think that made it so important.
Jeff, on the 3rd and 27, when did you realize what Kansas City was doing? And as it was happening, you go, my God, they're going to leave Jamar single covered.
Yeah, I think anytime that happens, I think you're surprised. I think,
yeah.
I think everybody was expecting, well, they'll just drop into a zone and let him check down and try to hit the field goal, So the fact they came out and all out blitz was surprising. Maybe it was just as surprising that Joe went for it all, but I think I think that shows the confidence that they have in each other and Zach's confidence in Burrow. It's when you have a quarterback like that, a trigger man like that, it just kind of it changes your whole locker room. It changes the whole topography, because the thing about Burrow is he's got a lot of confidence, and that has washed over to everybody else.
There's no doubt. Jamar Chase has a lot of confidence. So does T. Higgins. So does Boyd. So does Mixon. It's a darn good offense, and you saw that in that game. Walk us through your kind of emotions, though, and as you're watching what happened at the goal line, because it was kind of wild to see it all unfold the way that it did.
Yeah, I think at some point there I was talking to dead relatives. That was I could see both as it was playing out. I could see I guess I could see both sides of it. Let's kick this thing. But you know what Mahomes is going to do in overtime? He still had 50 seconds left. I'm thinking about Baker last year at Paul Brown, what he did in a minute 20,
Yep.
and that, and with Mahomes there, it's just, it wasn't, but it just, I wasn't, too thrilled to see a drop back pass, but again, that's the confidence that these guys have in each other, and you have to say that it panned out because the 2 flags were thrown. I mean, because they couldn't cover them. So, so I guess, you just don't see that happening in real time. And by the end of it, you're a quivering mass of jelly, which I was. But I think it does show you. It also showed you, I thought that Zach learned something from the San Francisco game 3 weeks before, where he ran the ball twice, kicked the field goal in overtime, and Jimmy Garoppolo went down and beat him. And I think, he was not going to get beat again at the end. So I think, however it turned out, you have to tip his hat for his resolve.
Yeah, you certainly do. And it's interesting, the last time that these two teams met down at Paul Brown, it's a 41-16 Browns win, and we're coming out of that going, okay, we've got our sea legs about us, we're going to go on a run, and it never happened. It never happened for the Browns in the second half of the season. It did, obviously, and has for the Bengals. Is there a point in the season, Jeff, that you can look back on and go, okay, that's when it took off? Is there a game? Is there something where it all just seemed to click?
No, because this season, and you guys lived this with the Browns, this season seemed to be week to week more than any other year. Look around the league, So, for us, there was the high of Baltimore and then 2 lows with the Jets and Cleveland. And then, I thought a huge win in Las Vegas after the bye, compounded with a big win over Pittsburgh here, but then there were 2 bad home losses to the Chargers and Niners. So this thing never really, you talk about sea legs, you still wonder if you got them. But I would think certainly, it took, because you're going into the Chiefs game, you're thinking, man, if you got to win, you're going to have to win at least one of these. And you got Mahomes, and then after that, you got to go to Cleveland where Baker is waiting, and these guys have trouble with Baker. So this thing was never, sealed until McPherson put the thing through the uprights, So at the end last Sunday. So, but I think that's the kind of year it was throughout the league.
You're right. It was a very up and down season, and even for the Bengals, you're right. You had some games where you just absolutely waxed people, and had some tough games as well on the other side of it for them. This team, though, if this Bengals team of yours is going to make a run all the way, what needs to happen?
I think we saw it against Kansas City. I think number 9, has to go nuts, and the defense has to make the stop when they're asked to make a stop. I think that the intriguing thing about the Bengals is how do you stop them? For the last 2 weeks, it's been Burrow and his 3 receivers, but that win in Vegas I was talking about and the win over the Steelers, that was Joe Mixon's show. So they can beat you in a number of different ways. Yep. And to me, the X factor is the defense. And because I think the offense is gonna they'll find a way to score. I think in these playoffs, but I think for them to make a run, the defense has to keep playing like it has the last couple of weeks, which is bend, don't break, be big in the red zone, and and get pressure on the passer. These teams are here pretty much because they've gotten really good quarterback play. There's no, That's nothing new. That's the way it is in the league, and you have to get pressure on these people. And they've got one of the top sackers in the league in Hendrickson. Hubbard's been very solid and had a good year. Ogunjobi, big up the middle. So they get these people healthy and ready. I think that's why they have a chance to make a run, because that defense, I think, can match what Burrow's going to do.
Jeff, I'll get you out of here on this one, just from a big picture perspective, and the Burrow story. I mean, it's a Hollywood story. It's scripted in terms of everything that he's done. He's the most popular Cincinnati sports athlete since whom?
Boomer Esiason, I say, no question. From a football standpoint, probably now in the realm. I think maybe. Do you think he's eclipsed Votto? I don't know. I'm not sure. Votto's a popular guy, but I think from a football standpoint, clearly since Boomer. I mean, it's a Hollywood story. It's also an Ohio story. Born and bred up the road in Athens. So it's he knows the history of the Bengals. He grew up with Bengals fans. His best friends in high school are Bengals fans. So they, to me, it's a true a true Ohio story, you know. And you get, of course, you throw Paul Brown in there. Paul Brown was an old Ohio quarterback too, so it's the symmetry is terrific.
Yeah, it really is. Always great talking to you, Jeff. Thanks for your time, bud.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you
too.
as well.
Z, you got some news for us.
Well, earlier today there was an article written by Mary Kay Cabot, and the tweet that she put out above that article was, Browns Baker Mayfield must resolve his differences with Kevin Stefanski soon in case they need to coexist next season. Also some names that will be on the radar if they don't. Baker Mayfield, 1 minute ago on Twitter, quote tweets this article and says, clickbait, you and many other Cleveland local media continue to be drama-stirring reporters with no sources or facts. Don't put words in my mouth so you can put food on your table. I'm not your puppet, end quote. And with that,
I can tell you Rumpke Waste and Recycling is family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll be part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, look, this is Cleveland Browns Daily, and Baker Mayfield's a quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, and so when he's on social media and saying things, and then you're going to talk about him. We're aware of that, and for those just joining, that's what's happened here in the last 10 minutes or so. In regard to Cleveland Plain Dealer reporter Mary Kay Cabot's story she wrote that was really last night, I believe, when it came out, was last night, I believe, when the story came out, about Baker, and the headline reads, Baker Mayfield must resolve his differences with Kevin Stefanski soon in case they need to coexist next season. Also, some names that will be on the radar if they don't. That's the title of the tweet, and then the story has been out for a while now, and Baker did quote tweet that here about 8 minutes ago, and it reads, as Nathan read, and I'll read it here as well, and I'm not sure what we can say other than just to read it. But
are we having media availability right now as well, Gibbe?
It should be starting soon.
Who's talking? Is Coach talking, or is this?
No.
JC is talking right now.
He's available right now.
Yeah.
So Baker quote tweets, clickbait, you and many other Cleveland local media continue to be drama-stirring reporters with no sources or facts. Don't put words in my mouth so you can put food on your table. I'm not your puppet. Is the quote tweet from Baker Mayfield. So this is that's what I'm telling you, man. Pittsburgh was that was the end. It feels like off-season type stuff, to be honest. So this is a wild thing. I don't have a whole lot of precedent for it to share with you. I don't. It's not something you see. But that's where you're at, and I guess we do have availability. I don't know who's scheduled to talk. You said JC's talking right now, Z. Who else is, going to be made available this afternoon?
I don't know. Gibbe, mate.
I believe Njoku. I'm trying to remember who else they said.
The coordinators all spoke this morning.
Yes. No, you won't hear from any coaches this afternoon.
Yeah, because we'll play Joe, and we've got AVP coming up, so you'll hear those things coming up. So, but all of that would have been done prior to this. So there will be some player availability. But Case spoke yesterday, right? So he wouldn't be somebody who would be available. And the one thing that I will say about this is where we are in the new media world with covering athletes. They don't need press conferences. They have a voice. They have their own voice via social media, and they can respond to whatever they want. In the old days, if you wanted to get a message out and it was an NFL message, you'd go to whether it was Peter King or Mort or somebody like that, and you'd have to talk to them, and then you'd get it out. Glazer still does a little bit of that, but a lot of these guys, and we saw this with Aaron Rodgers with the MVP voting, Baker would fall in line with that. Baker has grown up in the social media era.
Right.
That's the only thing he knows. With his direct access to,
I have MJ Stewart on the line.
He has a feeling that he was done wrong here, and so that's the way that you see it. He can respond to it directly. He does not have to go to a press conference to do so. And with that, we're joined on the hotline by our good friend MJ Stewart. MJ, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Just living the dream, brother. Truly, I mean, honestly, am. You are playing at an incredible level, buddy, an incredible level. Nathan and I have been talking about you for weeks. The play that you're making, the way that secondary has played together for the last few weeks amidst injury, it really is something to behold. I know the season hasn't gone the way that you guys wanted to, but you do feel like, at least we feel like, something special has been developed in the back end of our defense. Do you see that?
Oh, yes, sir, and we've known that since the beginning of the season. You know what I mean? We've been a unit. We've stuck by each other since the beginning of the season, and, we knew that we had depth, you know what I mean? So we, what the world is seeing now, we've been to.
MJ, let's go back, okay? You joined the Browns last year. Browns fans certainly remember the big plays you made down the stretch to get this football team into the playoffs and then into the playoffs. And then you come into camp this year, and you'd played corner your whole career. You're a second-round pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You joined the Browns, and they approach you about making a transition to the safety position. How did that go down, and what were your thoughts at that time?
Well, for me, it was I was excited. because I'm big on challenges. I love new challenges, and it was a new way to show my versatility. So I was really excited, honestly.
And it's worked out phenomenally well for you, and you've played safety. You've played nickel again this year due to some of those injuries. But, the fact of the matter is the story of what the Browns defense has accomplished, certainly over the last month, which I think has been nothing short of spectacular, cannot be written without your performance. You've had games with double-digit tackles. You've had games where you have been the best open field tackler in the National Football League. You've had great coverage plays. You've done it all for this team, and I know we've talked before. We talked after that Green Bay game, talk with Jeff Howard and Brandon Lynch, your coaches there in the secondary, and they said you were always ready for this moment. And for you to go out there and to go through what it is like to be drafted in the NFL as a second-round pick, for it not to work out with the team that drafted you, to get this opportunity for a staff to believe in you and say, well, not only do we see you here, we can envision you doing this at safety, and then to get those opportunities to play the way that you have in a free agent year, that's got to feel pretty good to you.
Yeah, it's definitely special, but at the same time, it all comes with preparation. I always, like I said, wait for my moment. You know what I mean? And my NFL career hasn't gone exactly. I mean, as you stated, it hasn't gone exactly how I wanted it to. But I'm a firm believer in it. And if you stay persistent and you keep working hard. And you do what you're supposed to do. At some point or another, your time's gonna come, and when your time comes, you just gotta take advantage.
MJ, when you hear people, and we hear it all the time, and whether it's from friends or in social media or whatever, and they say, "Oh, this is a meaningless game," I say, "Boy, say that to someone who's going to suit up on Sunday." And I think of you, and I think about the idea of what you're playing for on Sunday, what you've been playing for in the second half of this season. What does it mean for you to end this season on a high note, to take care of business in front of the home crowd, and put on that uniform with these group of brothers one more time?
It means a lot. It may be meaningless to a lot of other people, but at the same time, it's still the game that we know and love. It's still the games I've been playing since I was, 4 years old. So, anytime I get to step on that field, it's a blessing. You know what I mean? So, it's definitely not meaningless. It's definitely not meaningless. It's just another opportunity to, get your name out there and put some film on tape.
MJ, do you feel like you found a home here? Is this where you would like to continue to play football in the National Football League?
Yeah, I really do like this organization. They gave me a shot, when I got cut. So, I thank them for everything, and we'll definitely be talking in the off season for sure.
We certainly would love to see you back in that 36 for this team. I want to talk a little bit about this game against the Steelers. You had one hellacious hit early in the game that I thought was just spectacular, and it was clean. But then you go down and you guys are in the red zone area, and you got Grant and AJ running into each other. You've already missed a bunch of people are already out. You're moving up. New safeties are on the field who hadn't really even played together, probably at any point, probably not even in practice with Rich and Colbert. And you guys still get a goal line stand. Was that one of the craziest things? Because I was talking with your DB coach, Jeff Harris. I was looking around trying to think to myself, who do we even have available at this point when those two guys went out?
Yeah, man. That was definitely crazy. But like I said, we do so much preparation as a group that, anybody who steps in is ready for this opportunity. So, whenever guys go down and somebody comes in, there's no worry in our mind. There's no doubt in our mind that, they just want to hold that high standard.
MJ, we've talked a lot about your journey and what this has meant to you, and I always love when we get the opportunity to chat with you about that, because I think your story is a great one, and it's a story of perseverance. It's a story of self-belief that, you're going to get your opportunity and you're going to make the most of it, and you have done that this season. And while this season ultimately has been you guys didn't accomplish necessarily what you wanted to do you feel like some foundation, though, has been built that you guys can hopefully, especially on the defensive side of the ball, carry forward into the next season and a chance to do something special?
Yeah, we set a standard on how, the Browns play defense here. And that's going to be, a standard that has been set, and that's going to be, something that, we look forward to as far as next year, as far as, how we play defense the last month. And really, I would say, for the most part, the whole season, besides a few games, we've been playing, great on defense.
Yeah, you certainly have, buddy. It's been fun to watch. We thank you for your contribution. Can't wait to see you out there on Sunday, and thank you for giving us a little bit of your time today.
No problem. Thank you all too, man.
All right, MJ.
Good, buddy. MJ Stewart joining us there on the hotline. Coming up next, you'll hear from defensive coordinator Joe Woods. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Gambling without setting limits on how much you're going to wager or how long you'll play is like a football team going into a game without a game plan. It's probably going to end up in a loss, so always set limits before you bet. Get more tips like this at keepitfunohio.com. And now here's our defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, with his final meeting with the media this season. Let's have a listen.
We've got one game left on
You're down.
the schedule. and we've asked you about it throughout the season, when you were trying to find your own and trying to get the defense gelling. With one game left in this season, what do you think it was? Was there a catalyst? Was there a moment that you can recognize that really got this team, the defense, together, and yet when you guys started figuring it out? For the past couple of weeks, it feels like you guys have found your own. So was there a specific moment where you thought, yeah, this is who we are, this is our identity?
I think week in and week out, the challenges are so different based on the team you're playing and different styles of offense. And I feel like it was something throughout the season, just the different challenges, the different type of games we played that we just kind of, developed. Trying to find our chemistry, guys working together. I think playing Baltimore, after the games we played against them last year, I think that was a big game for us on the schedule. The first game we played them really well. And I think with all those games that you play like that, I think guys get confident. And I think the last couple games of the year, I think the guys really played more consistently.
You said something about, giving them a fuller menu as the season went on and as you felt more comfortable with them. Where does that menu sit right now for you? How much were you able to incorporate with these new guys?
We definitely got more into the menu, and it's just one of those things where there's a lot of things you want to do, but it's how much can the guys handle. I'm not using everything that we have defensively, but it definitely got much more into our package, especially the last couple of games.
Just how good has Jadeveon been for you this year, and just kind of how key is he to what you want to do up front?
Yeah, I think he played really well for us this year. He battled through some of the injuries, but I think if you ask him, it's probably the healthiest he's felt in a long time. I think the production is really good. He played really well for us, in the last game. I don't know what his future has in hold for him, you know what I mean? But I definitely like him being part of our defensive front.
Well, I was going to ask you that. I mean, if you talk to him about it or, organizationally about, hey, this is a guy we need to have back.
Yeah, I haven't had those discussions yet. That's something, in the offseason we'll definitely, talk about. But I think, again, just based on what he's done this year, from a production standpoint, I think the things he's added in our locker room, the D-line gelling, I think all those things are positives for him. We'll just see where it goes.
Yeah, Joe, kind of piggybacking a little bit off Cameron's question, last offseason, it was apparent you guys really felt you needed to make some upgrades roster-wise to fill some needs. And based on just kind of how you guys have come together defensively this year, a lot of the new faces that were brought in on some really short contracts. So could you just maybe, touch on the challenge of trying to bring a lot of these guys back and keep and or establish that core around guys like Denzel and Miles?
Yeah, I think we did a good job. I mean, really the first 2 years here, we had to add a lot of guys through free agency. I think the heart and soul of what you try to do, whether offense, defensively, is really through the draft. And you just add those final touches and those final pieces, in free agency. And there's going to be turnover. I mean, it's just the nature of the NFL. There's going to be turnover again. We'll have new guys, new free agents. But I really feel like when you look at, Jordan Elliott, he's been here for a couple of years. You look at Jeremiah, JOK. You look in the back end with Greg. We already have Denzel. I think there's some really good pieces, some really good cornerstones outside of obviously Miles that are there. We just have to continue to, add to that, continue to develop the players we have. But I really feel good where we're at right now from a personnel standpoint.
And you mentioned Denzel. Could you just kind of touch on his season? Early in the year, I don't think he was at the level that you were hoping or he was expecting of himself, but then he turned it into a Pro Bowl season. Could you just kind of touch on the type of year he had for you?
Yeah, I think early on he was pressing a little bit. He's a legitimate number one corner just from a size, length, skill standpoint. His ability to match up and play, anybody one-on-one. But I think early in the season, he was pressing too much. And the biggest thing I talked to him about is just do your job. If you do your job, play your technique, the plays will be there. So I think he settled down and just really started trusting his technique and not doing too much. And then the plays started to come.
Hey, Joe, it can kind of get, I guess, taken for granted because we're used to Miles getting, the Pro Bowls, and we voted him our Player of the Year, the local writers, for the second year in a row. But just what would you say about his 2021 season, and were there some areas of growth from him that you were looking for that you saw? And I know you're always challenging guys, so
Yeah.
what's on your checklist for him as well?
You know what, Miles is just, he's so dominant as a player that I think with sometimes just the guys I've been around, over the years, Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, like things come easy to those guys. And I think with Miles, he's so dominant. It's just really playing it at the highest level possible on every single snap. And I think you guys all saw that this year, just some of the games he was able to take over. So for me, moving forward with Miles, it's just let's have that type of performance as many times as possible. Continue to lead this defense. They'll follow you. And I think he's really tried to step up and become that type of person for us defensively, and he'll continue to do that into next season.
And we haven't seen him with the sack in a few weeks. We all know it's about more than sacks, but
yeah.
How much is that groin injury affecting him? And he wasn't on the injury report yesterday, so you think it's better? Does that give you hope for a strong finish?
Yeah, definitely. I think, is he 100%? No, but his mindset is to do everything possible to help this team win. And I know a few games ago he wasn't 100%. I know you guys could see that, but I think his mindset, what he means to this defense, what he's willing to do, man, is really important. I think the guys see that, and they really just try to play better around him.
Yeah, Joe, just can you address the season that JOK had a little bit, and now that you've actually seen him in action for this season, what do you feel the upside potential is, and where do you maybe see the areas of growth for him going forward?
Yeah, I think it's the sky's the limit for JOK. He's so dynamic in so many different areas. His ability to blitz, his ability to match up in coverage, make plays in space. I think throughout the season, as he got more comfortable, you really saw his ability, to show up in different areas at times. In college, he played really, he was really out playing over the slot, or he was blitzing off the edge in college. So the things we were asking him to do, it took him a little time to get it. I think he really feels comfortable. You can see him, in practice being more confident. And I really believe the sky's the limit. I think he can be a dynamic player for a long time for us.
I want to ask you, too, then about Greg Newsome, since we're on rookies.
Yeah.
How has he grown, and what's the potential for him?
Yeah, he's definitely another guy. I think he's improved throughout the season. And for me, just being a DB guy, coaching corners, it's always those games where you have those premium matchups. And I think, he played throughout the season where there were some really good receivers that he had to play against and made some plays against them. This last game, we knew what type of game it was, and they went after him, in the RPO throws, and he stood up, I think, 3 times in a row and had 3 PBUs. So for him, the confidence is there because he's played it against really good receivers and made plays. For him, he's a guy that's going to be here for a long time and give us a lot of good play outside the corner and inside in the slot.
Hey, Joe, I wanted to ask a question about Greg, too. And I guess this sort of applies to Denzel because, that Chase Claypool matchup is tough for, he's got 4 or 5 inches on him. Yeah. So, what is it about Greg and even Denzel, too, that allows them to be effective against some of the bigger receivers in the league?
They do have size and length, and some of those receivers are like that, 6'4", 6'5", but at corner, if you get a corner that's 6 foot, 6'1", they have good length. Those are the type of guys you want to match up against those type of receivers. And that's really one of the reasons why, we looked in the draft that he was one of the guys we wanted because he did have size and length compared to some of the other guys. I think for Denzel and Greg, it's confidence. And that was the one thing, with Greg when he came in, very smart, very confident, very competitive. And I think you guys seen that show up throughout the season, just in terms of the matchups that he had to go against week in and week out.
And then another guy that you sort of relied on this year, Greedy Williams. You didn't get to see him last year. So I guess how would you assess his season, especially since he's had to step in some tough spots?
Yeah, I'm proud of Greedy. he's not 100%. Coming off the injury is just something in time that he has to continue to work through. At times during the season he got a little banged up, but he came back. When we did lose Denzel at times, he had to step up. We lost Greg. He had to step up, and he made big plays for us, in several games. To have those three corners, at least those three corners, that makes you feel good as a coordinator because you feel like you can call anything on your game plan.
Yeah, Joe, just wanted to know how you felt about how Malik McDowell played without, being away from the game for so long.
He did a good job, and I'm so happy for him. Just everything he's gone through in his life to get to this point, to have a second opportunity. And I know when we first had him, we didn't know. There's a lot of unknown about him, but I think week in, week out, he trusted the coaching. I think Coach Kiffin and Coach Garrett did a great job with him. And I tell you, I refer to him as Baby Huey. He just has that, natural strength.
Back in 30
times. I think for him to go through a normal off season where strength and conditioning, taking care of his nutrition, going through the defense, hearing it from scratch and building. I think for him too, I think he can be a dominant player as a defensive lineman in this league for a long time as well.
You're up.
All right, there's some very good stuff from Joe Woods. Gibby asked the question, Z, in terms of what does the defense have to do to win on Sunday against Cincinnati. I think depending on who's there for us, show up as a starter because Cincinnati is going to be really, really behind the eight ball in terms of who's playing and who's not.
Yeah, and I think for, this defense, and we have so many young guys on it, right? And it's just an opportunity. Malik McDowell, he's a guy that at one point thought he wasn't going to be playing football again, and he's gotten a chance to do that. And, Tommy Togiai's been brought along slowly because we have so much depth there. This isn't a game where Malik Jackson, who's, by the way, we've talked a lot about other, Baker playing through injuries and the toughness that he's displayed, and J.C. Treader playing through injuries and the toughness that he's displayed. Malik McDowell plays through injuries all the time. That guy is constantly, it feels like he's not going to play, and then he's able to go out there and play. But Malik Jackson, who is the one veteran on that interior of the defensive line, has been beaten up all season and guts it out for this football team, a great leader and a great example. So this is a game where maybe he can, heal up a little bit, but those young guys, Malik McDowell and Tommy Togiai, have an opportunity to make a statement. And you think about McDowell, you go back to the preseason in Atlanta against the Giants when he literally manhandled grown offensive linemen in this league.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, all right, he can do it. His first play in the NFL is a tackle for loss against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, a tremendous story, and you think about him, and then you get to the second level, and for Jacob Phillips, this redemption, and JOK, the way he's come along, and then in the secondary, a rookie and Greg Newsome playing well. You're going to see probably either Greedy or AJ Green, who have both played very well this year for the Browns, as third and second year players respectively. You got Delpit really in his quote unquote rookie season, and a veteran like MJ Stewart, who's still young in the league. I mean,
yeah.
So you've got all these young guys who I think are going to want to go out and compete, and our D's shut down what good offenses have, and we're going to get, I think in many cases, the Bengals backups, and I think it's a real chance for this defense to go out there and eat at a substantial level.
Yeah, I would agree. Should be a fun one to watch those guys go out there and perform one more time. Browns fans get into First Energy Stadium quicker on game day with Express Access. Enroll for free day to enter through the exclusive lanes at each entrance. Plus, use Express Access for a chance to win a signed Myles Garrett jersey, other prizes that are available at the end of the season. Click on the Tickets tab at the Browns mobile app to learn more. We'll go around the NFL coming up next, including handicapping the MVP race. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider of your Cleveland Browns. They have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. MVP race got a lot of attention this week because of Aaron Rodgers and the MVP voter out of the Chicago area and everything that kind of came from that. It does seem that it's just kind of being handed to Rodgers. Now, he would probably get my vote, which is crazy because Brady's thrown almost 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. And he would be right there as well. It's not like he's running away with it, but it does feel like all the momentum's to Rodgers. Kupp has a little bit. Jonathan Taylor's mentioned as well. Those are the top four in most people's eyes. Gibby wants to give me one of the following who could be a sleeper. The only one that I mean, if Burrow would have played this week, if he would have played this week and they would have won been the 1 seed, then I think he could have won it. But it feels like, he's the only one that's off the board that I think could have if he would have played, but he's not playing this week.
No, I think you're exactly right. I think Joe Burrow and what he did in that game, in those moments, what he's done the last 2 weeks, first time ever in NFL history. What was it, back-to-back games with 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks? Never been done before. Yeah. He's the one, right? He's the one. I mean, you could get into, for a deep sleeper, Parsons or Diggs, I suppose, because of what they've done for the Dallas defense. But then, you needed them maybe to make a big play that beat the Cardinals. Like they lose a pretty uninspiring game to the Cardinals this week. So I think that's pretty much where you are. I think Burrow is the other one. Jamar Chase in some ways is worthy of some consideration, right? I mean, he sets the record for most receiving yards by a rookie, breaking the record of his former college teammate who also played with Joe Burrow. Like that's when you really start to think about what was going on at that school. It's no wonder they just were dominant. I mean, you start your franchise with that.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire was on that team too. Marshall as well. Randy Moss's son was the tight end who was in the league. When Joe Burrow was set to transfer from Ohio State, I was on the radio down there, obviously, and we were talking about what makes the most sense. And a lot of people were pushing Cincinnati, because Luke Fickell was there, and he was an assistant at Ohio State, and it was something that you knew that Luke would take care of Joe. And I said I'd go to LSU. And I got a lot of pushback. And the reason I said it was LSU is loaded. I didn't think Joe would do what he would do, but I said LSU has a ton of talent. And if you go win you don't have to win everything at LSU, but if you win a little, you'll never work a day the rest of your life. You can live in Baton Rouge the rest of your life and never have to work a day. They will take care of you. You beat Bama once, and then he did everything he did.
Yeah.
So then it's, but I was thinking from the perspective of if he's not a pro quarterback, because we didn't know he was a pro quarterback at that time, when he was in Columbus. Nobody knew that he had this upside to him. So I remember saying, go to LSU, man, because it's the highest ceiling, and he landed in a spot where they had so much talent, and then he just made it better across the board. And there's an infectious personality to him that obviously people love playing with him and love being around him. I have one thing I wanted to run by you on this. Do you think that in the NFL now, you can an MVP be anybody other than a quarterback?
It feels like no. And the other name I would add to that list probably is T.J. Watt. Where are the Steelers without T.J. Watt this year? Because
but the thing with Watt is like his win above replacement is nothing compared to even Aaron Donald, and he plays alongside of Cam Hayward.
Right.
So sure he has the sack numbers, but I don't even know if he's better than Aaron Donald week to week.
Sure.
I don't think he is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure. But no, I think it will be very difficult for a non-quarterback to win. I mean, the fact of the matter is it is the most important position in all of professional sports. And quarterback is where the buck, starts and stops right here. That's it. And so it'll end up being Rodgers, I'm guessing. Brady, there's a very compelling case to be made for Brady. Steve Palazzolo, our good friend at Pro Football Focus, I thought had a very good article detailing why Brady should get the MVP this year, but you can't go wrong with either one of those. Burrow's the other one. And for Burrow, it is – now, does he have to go out and win a playoff game? I kind of think so, not to have anything to do with the MVP, but what I mean by that is, they've won divisions before. They've won the AFC North.
Yeah.
So, for us winning, if we had won the AFC North, we had never done that before. They've won it. Right. They just haven't won a playoff game in 30 years. And so if Joe Burrow can do that, then he is the prince who was promised. He is the bringer of change, the breaker of chains, And so where does that Bengals team without Joe Burrow, where are they? Right? But the same is true. We saw, Aaron Rodgers' best case, honestly, for him being the MVP was what happened when they played Kansas City without him.
Absolutely. And honestly, the best case for never voting for a running back for MVP has been the Tennessee Titans this year.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's almost like – so I think almost like the MVP is always going to go to the quarterback, and then the Offensive Player of the Year should go to a non-quarterback. It should never go to a quarterback. It should be an offensive player who is not the quarterback, who's standing. And they've done that. It seems like they've done that a few times. So, hopefully that's something Cooper Kupp ought to win is Offensive Player of the Year. That would be an appropriate award for him. The other thing I was going to ask you is, would you be in favor, and I think the biggest example of this, the reason this should be the case is probably the NBA more than the NHL, or the NFL rather, just because football is a little more crazy, an individual player, what impact they can have. But do you think the MVP in professional sports should be voted on after the postseason?
If it is a stated regular season award, no. If it is a stated...
Are any of them?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't even know the answer to that.
No, it's just this is the NFL MVP. They don't say MVP of the regular season. They just say MVP. Most valuable player.
Then I'd like it to be after the playoffs.
So would I. I think everybody gets this wrong. And the best example of getting this wrong is the idea that Shaq and Kobe have the same amount of MVPs combined as Steve Nash has. And Nash, I love Nash. But that's crazy.
It makes very little sense, right? It makes very little sense. When you take that...
Basketball's the worst example of it. NFL's a little different because a lot of things can happen, and it's, 22 players on the field at once versus 10 and all of that. But, geez, it feels like the easy thing to do would just be to wait.
Yeah, why not?
What's the hurry?
Because they announced even for us, right? Didn't they announce that during Super Wildcard Weekend? Is that when it was announced? Because I'm trying to remember, because Stefanski couldn't be there, and I couldn't remember if it was for the Coach of the Year. Mm-hmm. Rodgers got MVP last year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he did. Yep.
I don't know.
I don't know. To me, I just think why not wait? Just wait and get it right. And because I think you'd have different view on it. And the NFL, I don't think it would necessarily be that different. What's Swag got going on?
Swag's got his collar popped in his car coat. He's got these tan leather gloves that look like they would be right at home on the Dutton Ranch.
He's got tan leather gloves.
Yes, but that have more of a working look.
They look more of a Western look to him. I bet they are. He loves Yellowstone. I bet
it's not like an isotone or this isn't Dan.
No,
these aren't driving gloves. These are gloves of substance and work. It was tremendous.
Oh,
that was really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he's back totally upright. It's great.
I got to see him. See, I didn't even see him diminish, which is good because I don't ever want to see him diminished. I don't ever want to see him not upright. So when I get back, at some point once we're out of all this, then I look forward to seeing him in his new gloves. I look forward to that very, very much. All right, offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. When a medical mistake causes you injury, call the medical malpractice attorneys at 1-800-ELK, Ohio. Elk & Elk, a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now from the podium for one final time this season, our offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt.
I'm sure this obviously
you're down
on the way you or anybody else would wanted it to. And I know there's a frustration, surely. There's been a lot of talk about the relationship between Baker and coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's frustration. It's probably good they'll have a little break from each other. But do you think is there tension there too?
No, absolutely not. I've seen zero of that. Kevin is in our meetings every day. He comes in, we talk through everything that was installed every day. I know the line of communication is wide open between those two guys. I know they met weekly on Tuesdays to make sure everything was good, and I don't feel that at all. I don't. Kevin's always been open and very communicative with all the players and coaches as well.
And none of us have ever questioned Baker's toughness, and I'm sure he wanted to finish this season off. How badly do you feel that he's not going to be able to get out there in the last one?
Yeah, I know. I feel for him. I really do appreciate his effort on the season. I mean, the guy was definitely in pain a lot of the times. I think Kay said it well yesterday when talking about Baker and how tough he is. And I know I've been around some tough guys, but he's up at the top of the list with the stuff he endured and went through this year. Appreciate his efforts. I know he wanted to be there for his teammates, but at some point you have to make the decision that it's at this situation, his health is most concerning. To keep him healthy and get him right for the off season for next year.
Hey, Alex, how did you think Baker saw the field this season and made decisions? And I ask specifically because there's a video out there of a 3rd and short against Pittsburgh where it looks like he's got DPJ wide open and he doesn't throw it and winds up taking a sack.
Yeah, that was a bad play for him. He'd be the first to admit it. A lot of things played into the performance as the years go on, as this year went on. And that'll be stuff that we take a look at hard in our self-scout and see where we're at. Statistically, he didn't have the year he had last year. Wasn't the same body, healthy person as he was last year either. So all that gets taken into consideration. But on that particular play, yes, it did look bad that Donovan was there, but Baker would be the first one to tell you. I think he was just a little late to it, and then by the time he got there, he felt like the DB was driving on it.
Is that something overall that you think that he can get better at, decision making and seeing guys get open?
Absolutely, and I think that a third year in the system where you have complete full understanding of everything, I think that ball would come out. It should have come out. We expected to come out. But yeah, you always grow within a system. The more you're in it, the more you have understanding you have for the scheme. Obviously, the more comfortable and better you'll be within it for sure. Yeah, definitely always room for improvement, and that's every player.
Yeah, Alex, when things don't go right, there's always the temptation to really overreact and try and correct. Just from your perspective, when you look back at maybe some of the breakdowns that occurred this season, how deep does that go? Does there need to be a big swing is from a correction standpoint, or do you feel like that it's just minor things that need to be shored up this offseason?
You speaking offensively?
Yes. Yeah.
No, I think there's always room for correction, always room for improvement. That's kind of where we are at the offseason. We'll dive deep into that and see as we do every year. As we did during the bye week, we really took a deep dive into what we were doing, and we'll always adjust and adapt and try to put our players in the best position. But there's always room for improvement. Top offense in the league to the bottom offense in the league, you can always get better.
And just in general, why do you think it was so tough to, I guess, bounce back within the season? Like we saw on the defensive side of the ball, they had some unevenness early in the season, but later in the year, they really seemed to find themselves. And just on your side of the ball, it just didn't seem like you guys really found that rhythm and that consistency you were looking for. So why do you think that was so tough for you guys to do that this year?
You'd expect us to do so. Obviously, we had good stretches at times. We didn't play well enough to get to the position where we wanted to be at the end of the season. We all acknowledge that and take accountability to a person for that. Disjointedness, injury, you could blame it on a lot of things, but ultimately we have to play better. We have to be better in leverage situations, third downs, red zone. We have to do it all better. We didn't do it well enough this year. We'll dive in to see why not, moving forward in the next few weeks and months. But everybody's got to step it up. We can't just roll our team out there and expect to be a playoff team. We got to put the work in. We got to detail our work, our fundamentals, everything that goes along with it. I expect these guys to fully do that.
Hey, Alex, on Monday afternoon, there was a report or / rumor circulating that you were going to meet with the University of Pitt officials about a job. Any truth to that?
No, not at all. Actually, my phone started to ring around that same time, and I have no idea where that had come from. I've not spoken with anybody from University of Pittsburgh. I'm very happy they had a heck of a season as a fan. I followed and watched, but definitely have not been contacted by anybody from there.
Okay. My other question is, you have now been the play caller for this team in 2 games. In each game, Kevin was, in quarantine. Would this not be a good opportunity to see the two of you work your roles in the same game? He as head coach and you as play caller?
I work for Coach Kevin, and I'm happy whichever role that would be. I think Kevin feels most comfortable calling the plays, and I don't know if I would disagree with him if I were in his shoes as well. But we do a lot together. Hopefully, as usual, we'll all have voices in the play calling as it goes forward. But I don't feel the need to I need to call this game. I think Kevin does a great job, and I'm very comfortable in the role that I'm in now.
I have 2 questions. One, you keep talking about how hurt Baker was, so why keep running him out there this season? Even if you said he felt okay when he really wasn't, why keep using him?
We felt that he was healthy enough to give us the best chance to win at that position. Big year for Baker as far as learning how to play through injury. Really proud of him. I mean, it's not uncommon in this league that guys play with things throughout the course of the year and get repaired in the off season. It's kind of the way it goes. It was his non-throwing shoulder. He was harnessed up and protected to the point. The game that he wasn't healthy enough to play, we started case. But it's a medical question, and each week, if he was cleared medically to play, we thought it was the best interest to the team to play him, give us the best chance to win.
And my second question was, with all the coaches coming back and all the offensive starters coming back, seemed like a good idea. But Alex, do you think that maybe things got a little stale with everybody knew what their position was, or no battles or anything like that? Do you think they could have been a little stale?
I hope not. I felt really good about where we were last year coming into the season with the returners. I know it's a comfort level. Yes, I don't think anybody got complacent. No, a lot of people played that weren't the original starters from the beginning of the season, and that's the way it always works in the NFL. But I know we got to be better next year. We got to find a way to improve in a lot of different areas.
Hey, Alex, I want to ask you about Jedrick Wills, Jr. Obviously he had those ankle injuries early on. What do you think about his season as a whole? And, just did you get the step out of him in his second season that you wanted?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I know he got better. He got better as a player. I know that. He had a rough go early with the injuries. Then with the COVID, he was a guy that wasn't feeling great through that deal. So to get him back, probably wasn't the year he wanted to have, but I know he got better. I know working with Coach Callahan and Coach Peters for another year is only going to make you better. So hopefully, knock on wood, next year we can come back healthy and stay healthy and be very productive at that left tackle spot, because he definitely has the ability to do it.
Okay, and a guy in a much different situation, Joku, and I say that because his contract's coming up here. But what did you think of his season, and is he somebody that you would like to continue to develop?
I think so. Personally, I like David the way he played this year. It was productive for us and explosive in the pass game. He's very good at the point of attack in the run game, and it's tough to find in tight ends. We're lucky to have 3 that can do both of those things. But he did it at a high level. I was very proud of his season. He did some good things on both sides in the pass game and the run game. And, definitely hope he's part of us moving forward.
Hey, Alex, I wanted to ask about Kareem Hunt. You guys only had him for 8 games this year or so far. And one of those games, I think you only had him for like a quarter. So with not having him in the offense and all the things he does for you, how much did that kind of hurt you guys to not have him?
I mean, it definitely would help if we did have him. There's no question. He's a star player, very explosive, very violent runner, good in the pass game, brings a lot to the table for second and third down for us. Unfortunately, again, that injury bug stuck up and bit him. And, it's one of many injuries we dealt with throughout the course of the year. Ultimately, you like to have him for all 16, 17, 18, 20 games, but, we just got to find ways to keep winning when we don't have him in there. But, again, it was that kind of year, just disjointed at times, didn't have all, we weren't loaded for bear every week as we were most of the time last year, but no excuses. We still got to find ways to win.
And I guess one of the positives of that is you got to see more of Dearness. So how would you kind of assess his season?
Very, very happy with Dearness. Never doubted him. He's always produced when his number's been called for us. He's very good in third down protection, understands protection schemes and is physical and his blitz pickup and can catch the ball in the backfield. So I think, Dearness had a really good year for us with the things we asked him to do.
Yeah, Alex, I wanted to follow up on the Njoku question. How did you think that he got better this season, and where do you think there's still room for him to improve?
Back in 30.
Without getting into great detail, I mean, I think he got better in the pass game. I think that was an area of improvement for him. Always room for improvement there. He's a guy that has great straight line speed. I see maybe getting in and out of the breaks at the break point. But then just his ability to be physical in the run game, I think that's improved as well. But again, he's had a very solid year for us.
You're up.
Yeah, it certainly has. See, when you think about offensively for us on Sunday, who's going? Is everybody going? I mean, what do you think we'll see on Sunday?
I don't know. We've added quite a few running backs to the mix here this week, which would make me think that, maybe we don't see Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. Maybe we see Felton and some of these young guys that were here with us earlier in the season and Kelly. So I'm not sure what we're going to see offensively. I do think they want to try to get the ball to Chief and to Harrison Bryant and to Schwartz and DPJ. So I do think we'll see some of those younger guys get opportunities on offense in this game. And why wouldn't you? I think that's probably a lot of the way that it will go. So it's a strange game in that sense.
It really is.
You don't know who's playing for the Browns. You don't know who's playing for the Bengals.
Right.
It's bizarre in that respect. And so I think a lot of it will probably get, maybe tomorrow we'll check in and maybe we'll get some scores and try to have a little bit of an idea of what this is going to look like on our side anyway going into this game.
Yeah, you even think about the game, our last game in 2018 here, when you were eliminated from the postseason late, but it was still pure joy. That game was. That's the famous.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was the one with you and Baker and the famous thing at the end of the game. I mean, that was great. And there was still so much fun around that game. This one will be. There will be a lot of nostalgia for Deke, but beyond that, it's just strange to know who's going to be out there.
Yeah, and for the Browns, it's not your starting quarterback. I think that I know that the guys want to play. I know that for example, I know Nick wants to play. I know Kareem wants to play, and maybe they will. I think they probably will play. The question is just going to be how much do they play? How much do you see those guys? And that's what makes this so odd. I do think the Browns very much desire to win this football game, but I think they're also going to not put anything in jeopardy that would be considered, a real foundational piece.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow we'll get a little better idea on all of that. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Got about a minute and a half.
And we encourage you to catch the final Kevin Stefanski Show broadcast of the year. It's tonight live from Tony K's Bar and Grill in Berea. It's presented by our friends at Bud Light. Join Z and Gerard from 7 to 8 for giveaways, drink specials. Meet Browns legend Felix Wright as well. That's tonight at 7. The Kevin Stefanski Show live from Tony K's Bar and Grill, presented by Bud Light. You believe that? The final episode. We've reached the end, brother.
It's sad. We had hoped to have 4 more after that, and that would take us all the way through. Even be able to maybe do one from LA or Dallas, wherever the Super Bowl is going to be, as they're making.
Yeah, we haven't got into
plans.
that this week.
No, but yeah, it's sad. It is. Reminds me of that song by Boyz II Men. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
I didn't know if you were going to go there or the end of the road. We've reached the end of the road. You could have gone either one. They were very melancholy.
To the end of
Boyz II Men. Those kids got broke up with a lot.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
A lot of breaking up.
They were used as a tool, a vessel.
They were.
Yeah. Like,
there was,
you think you're going to get dumped? You're like, wait, hold on. Before you say something, let me play this song for you. You're dumped.
That's right. How about you? You take it.
You take it. Can't dump me.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. There's a program for you, kids. We'll be back tomorrow. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody, to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.